So this evening I'm going to speak from the beginning of the 7th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, because although last Friday or Sunday was Nrsimha Chaturdashi, but we're going to celebrate here on Friday. So leading up to the celebration on Friday, we will speak every evening on pastimes and circumstances surrounding the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev. Okay, so 7th canto begins. There's a question. Maharaj Parikshit wants to understand, first of all, about whether or not the Lord is actually equal to everyone, because it appears that sometimes the Lord is partial to the devas rather than being equal to everyone. We would think that if he's equal to everyone, he shouldn't take the side of the demigods against the demons, but it appears that sometimes the Lord does this. So this question is explained, first of all, in this 7th canto, that actually the Lord is equal to everyone, that naturally whoever renders service to him, they will receive the benefit of that service. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dvishosti napriya. Ye bhajanti tumam bhakta mayi te teshu chapyam. Krishna says himself in Bhagavad Gita, I envy no one, I'm equal to all. But still, whoever renders service to me, who is a friend, he is in me and I am in him. Srila Prabhupada gives the example that just like in the court of law, sometimes the judge will reward someone, compensate someone. They may have been injured or suffered some disability somehow. They have to be compensated. And someone else has to be punished. They've committed some crime. Now the person who has committed the crime may complain that, why are you being partial? You rewarded that person, why are you punishing me? It's not partiality, it's just the natural consequences of the activities. That somebody has committed a crime, they get reaction for that. And so it's not that the Lord is unfair. So similarly, in dealing with the demons and the demigods, the Lord rewards the devas for their service to him, and the demons who are opposed to him, he has to punish them. Sometimes he kills them, but even when he kills the demons, they're liberated. So this was a little puzzling in Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit, because he heard about Sishupala, how Sishupala's effulgence after he'd been killed at the Rajasuya Yagya, the effulgence from his body, the spirit spark from his body entered into the body of Lord Krishna, entered into the effulgence of Lord Krishna. And so it was surprising to hear this for Maharaj Parikshit, because he understood, of course, how Sishupal had been so antagonistic to Krishna. He'd been always envious of Krishna and always critical of Krishna, and ultimately Krishna had beheaded him. But he could actually see the liberation that Sishupal he had achieved liberation. So this was surprising, that why such a person who was so offensive could be liberated. So this actually leads to the information of the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev, because Sukadeva Goswami describes how the 4 Kumaras had cursed the 2 gatekeepers at Vaikuntha, Jai and Vijay. Jai and Vijay had originally been obstructed. They had stopped the 4 Kumaras from entering into the Lord's abode. So the 4 Kumaras were offended that these 2 gatekeepers, they're not fit to be inhabitants of Vaikuntha, because they're They're full of the mode of passion. They want to obstruct us from entering into the Lord's abode. Jai and Vijay were not able to recognize the four Kumaras as being the sons of Brahma. And so they tried to stop them from entering into Vaikuntha. So the four Kumaras were angry at this. And they put a curse on the two gatekeepers. That you don't deserve to reside here in the spiritual world. You should go to the material world. And ultimately, of course, Lord Narayan, Lord Padmanabha himself came there along with the goddess of fortune. And Lord Padmanabha explained that actually this is his desire, that Jai and Vijay will go there to the material world, that they will have to take birth there in the material world. But it was resolved that they would take birth as demons who were opposed to the Lord. And in that way, they would come back quicker to the spiritual world. Jai and Vijay certainly desired that they could come back quickly. So the Lord said that if you take birth as demons, then quickly you'll be able to come back. But if you go as devotees, it will take a longer time. You have to take more births. So they agreed they would go as demons. So Jai and Vijay had to take birth. It was decided 3 births before they could come back to Godhead. So their first birth was as the sons of Diti. And that was described earlier I think that it's in the 3rd canto, where the pregnancy of Diti is described in the evening, in an inauspicious time. And as a result of her conceiving in an inauspicious time, she gave birth to children, to 2 sons who were of very demonic mentality. Of course, those 2 sons, Haranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, right? So Hiranyaksha, his nature was to go everywhere looking for gold, digging up the earth and causing some disturbance in the universal order. So much so that ultimately the earth planet fell into the bottom of the Garbhodak ocean. And that resulted in the appearance of Lord Varaha. Lord Varaha appears from the nostril of Lord Brahma. An unusual place to take birth, isn't it? Coming from the nostril. Anyway, Lord Varaha appeared from the nostril of Brahma, then grew into a gigantic form and picked up the earth planet which had fallen into the bottom of the Garbhodak ocean. But at that time he was challenged by Hiranyaksha. Hiranyaksha had been looking everywhere for someone to give him a good fight, and he had heard about the Lord, and Lord Varaha had come, and so there was a great battle between the two, Hiranyaksha and Lord Varaha, and ultimately Lord Varaha slayed Hiranyaksha. So with the death of Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu was naturally aggrieved. He was greatly distressed. It was a great loss to him to lose his brother. The 2 of them, they were of similar nature. So they enjoyed each other's company and of course being brothers and so on. And not only Hiranyakashipu was aggrieved, but the mother also naturally, the mother always thinks of her child as being very nice. There was a case some years ago, I remember, in USA, there was one mass murderer. They had arrested one mass murderer. Some man had killed more than 30 people. And so they interviewed the man's mother. And the man's mother said, "Oh, my son, he was such a nice boy. He killed more than 30 people, but the mother was still thinking, my son's such a nice boy, he was such a nice boy. So similarly, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, although they gave so much trouble to the universe, their mother, Diti, was greatly attached. And with the death of Hiranyaksha, she was also lamenting. However, she has one other son, Hiranyakashipu is there. And you can read in the Srimad Bhagavatam how Hiranyakashipu instructs his mother not to grieve for the loss of her son. That no, there's no value in grieving for the dead. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. So Mother Diti was instructed in this way by Hiranyakashipu. So Hiranyakashipu, from his very name, we can understand something of his mentality. Hiranya means gold, and Kashipu means soft bed or comfortable living. And that's generally what materialistic people are very anxious about. They all want to find nice, comfortable situation for the body. And Hiranyakashipu went to the greatest extent to try to ensure that he would have this throughout his existence. In fact, he was a very ambitious person. He was concerned that he should not die. Right? He wanted to be immortal. He wanted that he will become himself Lord Brahma. He was a devotee of Brahma, but his intention in devoting himself to Lord Brahma was that ultimately he would become Lord Brahma, that he would take the position of Brahma. This is a typical materialistic frame of mind, that we want to conquer and enjoy. So Hiranyakashipu went about it in this way. He began by performing great austerities. And his austerity was he would stand on his tiptoes with his arms raised in the air, without food or water, and controlling his breathing also. And so he did like this in the Satya Yuga, and it said he performed austerities for 100 years of the demigods. A very, very long time. He was performing austerities for such a long time that all the flesh of his body was eaten away, and his whole body became covered with an ant hill. There was only bones remaining, but somehow the spirit soul was there, living in these bones. So it was amazing that he could maintain his existence in such a condition. And the result of his austerities was that a great fire came out from the top of his head, because he was doing all of this austerity, and it became such heat came out from the top of his head, and this heat which came from the top of his head began to heat the whole universe, and all the higher planets were also affected, and all the demigods were disturbed, and they all went to Lord Brahma to beg Lord Brahma that he's your devotee, you should do something about this. We're all being disturbed. The heat is too much, just like we know ourselves here, right? When it gets too hot, what did we run away, we tried to go away, we close up everything, go away, we'll come back when everything cools down. So the demigods were having the same problem. due to the austerities of Hiranyakashipu. So Lord Brahma, after being approached by all the demigods, other demigods, he knew he had to come and see what was going on. And when he came there and saw the condition of Hiranyakashipu, he was amazed himself that, whoa, this person is really serious. He really wants to get some benediction. Alright? You want something very badly, you make great efforts to do it, to get it. So just understand how determined Hiranyakashipu was, that he wanted to get this benediction from Lord Brahma, that he would not die. So Lord Brahma came there, and with his kamandalu, Lord Brahma carries his water pot. He pours some water onto the bones of Hiranyakashipu, and the result was that with the water coming from the kamandalu of Lord Brahma, Hiranyakashipu regained his body, and he got a youthful body. He was rejuvenated. That sounds nice, doesn't it? To get rejuvenated. We often need rejuvenated, right? You go somewhere, oh, I need to get some rest and recuperation, need to be rejuvenated, need to become young again. So Hiranyakashipu, he got rejuvenated with the water from the kamandalu of Lord Brahma. And young, strong, powerful body. And so he then tells Lord Brahma what is his desire. That I want to be immortal. I don't want to die. But Lord Brahma says, I can't give you that benediction, because it's not the nature of this world. This is the material world. Jatasya hi dhruvam mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. One who has taken birth will die. Cannot avoid this law. So Hiranyakashipu is quite a cunning fellow. So he comes up with another proposal. Then grant me a wish that I will not die in the day or in the night. I should not die at the hands of any man or animal or demigod. I should not die inside or outside. I should not die on the land or in the air or in the sea. Like so many different conditions Hiranyakashipu requested. And Lord Brahma said, oh yeah, all right. Lord Brahma gave all of these benedictions. Later on, Brahma would get chastised for this. Lord Nrsingadev, after he kills Hiranyakashipu, he tells Lord Brahma, don't you give any more benedictions again. You give me so much trouble, because after Brahma gives these benedictions, the Lord has to respect these conditions, these benedictions. So anyway, Hiranyakashipu, he's been given these benedictions, he's taken this position. Of course, ultimately his desire is to become himself Lord Brahma. You know, generally this is materialistic people. They may worship the Lord with the idea of becoming the Lord. Just like the Mayavada philosophy. They worship the Lord, and they're thinking, ultimately, I will become the Lord myself. I will become one with the Lord. This is not the proper mood. In the practice of bhakti, in the path of devotion, we worship the Lord. We're always the servant of the Lord. We don't worship the deity to become the deity ourselves. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that the constitutional position of every living entity, Jiver Swarupahaya, Nitya Krishna Das, right? By constitution, you don't change the constitution. Not supposed to anyway. Of course, sometimes it happens. But we're always meant to be the servant of the Lord, eternally. And we worship the deity eternally. We worship the Lord here, and if we go back to Godhead, we will continue to worship the Lord there. We're always the servant, here and in the spiritual world. We're there as the servant. Hiranyakashipu, however, people of that nature, they don't want to be the servant. They want to control, they want to take the position of the master. They want to become the master. There's so many examples in the history of the world. Great leaders were killed by their secretary, or one of their servants comes somewhere and kills them to take their position. So that's the material world. People with the materialistic concept in mind. They're thinking how to become the master. So Hiranyakashipu getting these benedictions from Lord Brahma. Yes, come forward. More people are coming. Getting these benedictions from Lord Brahma, Hiranyakashipu then sets about giving so much trouble to the planet. He instructs all of his different demonic friends to go everywhere and to burn the hermitages where the great sages are performing sacrifice. Actually, the sages would be chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. He would instruct them to chant Om Namo Hiranyakashipuaya. Right? He wanted to be the worshipable deity of everyone. He wanted them to worship him. And if they wouldn't do it, then burn the hermitages. And cut all the trees, all the auspicious sacred trees, all the trees which are valuable, like the mango tree and the jackfruit tree, cut them all down. We don't need these things. We want gold, we want money. Right? Like some people say, build factories, don't worry about temples, we need factories. This is the Hiranyakashipu mentality. We want to exploit the material nature for our sense gratification. So we have to be very careful how we live in this world. Hiranyakashipu and his demons, they were very much opposed to the Brahminical culture. And they were also opposed to protecting cows. Sometimes we hear demoniac people talk about this, that they want to kill the cows. In a God-conscious society, Brahminical culture and God consciousness are essential, very important. Brahminical culture, we need to educate people in the qualities of the Brahminical culture. Just like we practice in our Krishna consciousness movement, we train people the 4 regulative principles, the pillars of religion. Satyam, Socham, Daya, and Tapa. So 4 regulative principles are essential in any civilized society. Of course, it was known in the times of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. His disciples had gone to England and they had been preaching to some aristocracy there, And the aristocratic gentleman had inquired, what do I need to do to become a Brahmin? And they had told him simply, you practice these 4 principles. No meat, fish and eggs, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit connection with the opposite sex. This is Brahmana, they told him. And when he heard this, he said, oh, that is impossible. And so this was how westernized people think. They think this kind of thing is impossible. Even today we see also of course even in countries like India, for a lot of people it's very difficult. However, Srila Prabhupada said, this is not very difficult. And certainly Srila Prabhupada throughout his life he had practiced these principles. And civilized society, we need this kind of principles. Where there is no Brahminical culture and no cow protection, then you create a hellish civilization. We create a unnatural, unhealthy, very unstable situation for people. It means you don't get proper food. There's no milk, no fresh milk, no milk products. Just like nowadays they have this one program people call vegan, become very popular. Some people are vegan. They don't want to accept any of the products coming from the animals. And they say it's wrong to take the milk from the cow. Well, certainly it's wrong to not protect the cow. Cow protection is very much needed. And we protect, when the cow is protected properly, then the cow will willingly provide milk for the benefit of people. Milk is essential for developing a healthy brain. Srila Prabhupada used to say, simply by drinking milk, you get pious activities and can increase the duration of life. And milk is essential for a child. A newborn baby must have milk. It's the only thing which can survive on. So the cow is one of the 7 mothers. Cow performs very important function in society. And if we don't protect the cows, then it creates a very bad situation for the world. And we can see throughout the world that the world is not doing very well. There's a lot of problems, a lot of unrest everywhere. But this Kali Yuga can all be ended when people take up the proper principles of Dharma, following the principles as explained in the scriptures. God-conscious society. If there is a program for Krishna consciousness or God consciousness, then people can live a healthy, natural life. And the evil influences of the Kali Yuga can be ended. But when you have people like Hiranyakashipu and his friends going everywhere, then it creates so much disturbance and so much unrest for people. We see the same kind of programs today with atheistic governments. Atheistic governments are a big problem to the world. You know, it's more governments rather than just Hiranyakashipus. Hiranyakashipu was one person, and he had some demon friends. You have the same thing today with the atheistic governments, communist governments, even some democratic governments. They're not liberal at all, and they're opposed to the principles of God consciousness. They don't care at all about cow protection. They think the animals are just there to be killed. So, education is very, very important. Education in these principles. We'll see one of the things which Prahlad Maharaj explained to his friends later on, after the birth of Prahlad Maharaj. He was in the Gurukula. And in the Gurukula, he was preaching to his other friends. This was not a normal Gurukula. It was not for spiritual education, but it was a Gurukula for the demons. Right? Because his father was a demon, so his father put him in a school to be educated how to be a good materialist, how to deal with his enemies, how to bribe them and pacify them, or maybe you have to imprison them or exile them or even kill them. And so this was all education which Prahlad was to be instructed in. But Prahlad, when he was in the school, he was telling his friends, Komar acharit pragno dharmam bhagavatamiha, that from the beginning of life we have to learn what is Bhagavat Dharma. That is the important thing. Komar means 5-year-old boy, the beginning of life. Real education is Bhagavat Dharma, to understand how to follow the principles of God, the laws of God, as given in Shastra. This is the real education. So Prahlad Maharaj was preaching like this. He was alone in the school with so many other children who were also sons of demons. Demonic society. Actually, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains only 2 natures are there. Devi Sampat and Asurik Sampat. If someone is not devotee, then he is demon. Of course, little demons, not like Hiranyakashipu, but the same kind of mentality. So the demons in the Kali Yuga, of course, when Lord Nityananda approached Jagai and Madai to make them devotees, then because one of them attacked Lord Nityananda and struck him on the head, Lord Chaitanya came in a great rage, and Lord Chaitanya was going to kill them. But Lord Nityananda reminded Lord Chaitanya that no, my Lord, in this age you have to be merciful. Why? Because in this Kali Yuga practically everyone is a demon. Devotees are very rare. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati. Out of thousands among men, only one is endeavoring for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. The devotees, they know Krishna in truth. But devotees are rare souls, fortunate souls. So Lord Chaitanya was reminded that you don't kill them. Kali Yuga, we have to make the demons into devotees. How to make them devotees? This is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. To change that mentality, the demonic mentality, by giving Krishna consciousness, by somehow or other injecting Krishna into the consciousness of the conditioned souls. Prabhupada tells the story about the Vishakanya, poison girl, right? That in the olden days, the kings, they would sometimes raise the young girl, and from the very childhood, from the very birth of the young child, they would feed the young girl with poison, little bits of poison. And the young child grows up being accustomed to absorbing this poison into her system. And when the young girl grows up into a beautiful young woman, then the king tells the other enemy king, I want to give you a present. I'm sending you a beautiful girl. She will make you happy. She will bring pleasure to you. So he sends this poison girl to the enemy king. And the enemy king sees the beautiful young girl, and he thinks this young girl is for me to enjoy. He approaches the young girl to kiss her, and just from one kiss, the poison enters into the king, and the king dies. This is Vishya-kanya. So Krishna consciousness is like that, right? We give people prasadam. You give them some sweet ball, you give them some gulab jamun, and that's the injection. Just like you get an injection, one it's put into the arm, but the effects of the medicine is so powerful, it goes through the whole body. So in the same way, we give Krishna consciousness. It may be prasadam, it may be the holy name, it may just simply be Hare Krishna. Simply hearing the holy name, and it enters the ear, and it goes right through the whole body and changes the consciousness of the whole body. There are many cases. Simply hear the holy name and consciousness is aroused, because love of Krishna is in everyone's heart, right? Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj has written, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadi Sudachiti Korehi Udai. Love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of all living entities. It has to be awakened by hearing. So we have to give people the opportunity to hear. Hearing is especially stressed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wanted people to hear. Give them the chance to hear. Generally, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not discuss philosophy, only with a few people. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Rupa and Sanatan, Ramananda Rai, and of course his friend from Navadvip, Sarvabhauma Bhatt. Who is the other one who lived? Intimate associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? No, Rupa Sanatan, Sarvabhauma, Ramananda. There was Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar. Right, Swarup Damodar. These are the people who he would discuss philosophy with. But for the common people, the holy name, Sankirtan. Sankirtan, very powerful. Of course, we cannot do a lot of Sankirtan here in this country. We have to be very careful, very discreet. But where there is a Sankirtan, then that creates the auspicious atmosphere. And we give people the holy name. Of course, we can use technology. We have to learn to take advantage of technology, just like the media. I preach also in China, and China is also another atheistic country, communist country. They don't accept religion there. People are indoctrinated into communist philosophy, Marxism. And Marx said religion is the opium of the people. So generally they don't like this. If you work in a Chinese company, you know how materialistic people are. So we have to be discreet. We use technology. People can have, people have these headphones, and people have mobile phones and so on. So you can do a lot of You can have a lot of transmission that way. You can be giving the holy name. We can be exposing people to the holy name of the Lord through all of these different technologies. We have to learn to use everything in the service of Krishna. So Prabhupada said, we're not against technology. It's how they use it. So if we can use it in the service of Krishna, that's very good. So Hiranyakashipu, people like that, they try to use everything for sense gratification. Their whole motivation is sense gratification. For the body, we want to live here in this world forever. This planet is just for our enjoyment. They don't have any higher purpose in mind. And they don't have any obedience to the Brahminical culture or to the scriptures. This is the problem. This is a demonic mentality. Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita. Pavritim cha, nivritim cha, janana vidura sura. They don't know what should be done and what should not be done. Neither cleanliness nor truthfulness, no good qualities are found in them. This is the asuric sampat. Arjuna was told, you're fortunate, you're born with the divine qualities. And it's interesting to note that Prahlad also was born with divine qualities. Prahlad, born with divine qualities, but his father is a great demon. So we should understand, birth is not the important thing. You may have a good birth, that's very nice, but we have to see the qualities. It's not enough. A good birth can help, but it's not the only thing. We still have to develop and cultivate the good qualities. So Prahlad Maharaj's father was a great demon, but Prahlad from his very birth had all the good qualities of a devotee. Hiranyakashipu, it said actually, how was it possible Prahlad had such good qualities? It said Hiranyakashipu had done some form of Garbhadan samskar. It's actually described, there's a pastime that Hiranyakashipu, when he'd gone to do his austerities, at that time Narada Muni, along with Angira Muni, they took the form of birds, and they came to that place where Hiranyakashipu was doing his austerity. And they came in the form of birds, and they began to sing the names of Narayan. The birds were saying, Narayan, Narayan. And Hiranyakashipu was there doing his austerities, and he heard these birds singing Narayan. His meditation was disturbed, and he tried to kill the birds. He tried to capture, he tried to burn them just by his glance, but he wasn't able to capture them. And he became so disturbed, his meditation broken, he decided he would go back home that night. He went back home to see his wife. And his wife was surprised that, oh, you've come home. I thought you went to do austerities. I thought you were not coming home for a while. He said, yeah, I was there doing my austerities. These birds came, they were singing Narayan. They were singing this name Narayan. I got so disturbed. So I've come home to see you. So he spent the night with his wife and impregnated her. Of course, but he chanted the name Narayan. So he got the benefit of Garbhadan samskar. And the result was he got such a nice devotee child, Prahlad. So this is how we got such a saintly person like Prahlad. He has all the good qualities of a devotee. One who is a devotee has all the good qualities. This has to be understood. One who is not a devotee cannot have any good qualities. Even you're very expert in maintaining your family or in practicing the mystic yoga system and drilling the respiration, But if you're not a devotee, cannot have any good qualities. Prabhupada was explaining like this. Prabhupada tells how he'd gone to the post office sometime in India before he'd gone to the West. And the postman would say, why you need to be a devotee? I am honest, I am truthful, I don't do anyone any harm. That's enough. Prabhupada said, no, it's not enough. You have to be a devotee. Without being a devotee, you're simply under the modes of nature. Sometimes you may be good, but you're under the modes of nature. Sometimes you're influenced by passion, and sometimes influenced by ignorance. Without being fixed on the devotional platform, one cannot be steady in terms of his qualities and behavior. Sometimes we display the good qualities, and other times we're influenced by passion and ignorance. They're very important. We have to come to the level of pure devotion, bhakti, pure bhakti, without falling down. We have to get free of the influence of passion and ignorance. Passion and ignorance is going to be there. Sometimes goodness is conquered by passion, and sometimes conquered by ignorance. There's always a struggle going on between the modes. Therefore, we have to transcend all three modes. You cannot just simply be in the mode of goodness. We have to come to the level of pure goodness. Pure goodness, then we're properly situated. And to come to that level of pure goodness is only possible by taking shelter of the process of bhakti yoga. Mamchayo vayabicharena bhakti yogena sevate. Sagunam samatitaikam brahma bhuyaya kopati. One who is engaged in my devotional service without falling down, then they come to the level of Brahman. So this is the idea. Prahlad Maharaj is not an ordinary child. He is a pure devotee from his birth. He has prema bhakti. He's not just a sadhana bhakti. He's prema bhakta. He's always thinking of the Lord. Just like a young child is naturally attached to the mother or the father. They will cry for the parent. So in the same way, Prahlad was always attached to Krishna. He was always thinking of Krishna at every moment. He was always thinking, where's Krishna? Feeling separation from Krishna. And then when he would see Krishna, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes in his Shikshastakam prayers. Yugayitam nimashena chakshusha pravishaya shunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda. O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering one moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain. I'm feeling all vacant in this world in your absence. So the Goswamis of Vrindavan, they were like that. They were also feeling separation from Krishna. They were absorbed in the mood of the gopis. The mood of the gopis. What is the mood of the gopis? Vipralamba seva. Service in separation. So Prahlad Maharaj was also in that same kind of mood. That sometimes he would be seeing Krishna, and other times he'd be feeling separation from Krishna. He was naturally Krishna conscious. So, because Hiranyakashipu was terrorizing the planet and creating so much disturbance, all the demigods had to surrender to him. All except Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva became the servants of Hiranyakashipu. Even Yamaraj and Garuda and even Narada, they would have to be a little obedient to Hiranyakashipu. So in that condition, the demigods approached the Lord, the Supreme Lord, Lord Vishnu, that what's going to happen? What are we going to do? We have to do something about this demon. So they knew that Pralad's, that the wife of Hiranyakashipu was carrying a child. So they thought, if she gives birth to a child, the child of Hiranyakashipu will be like the father, will also be a demon. We should kill this child. So they made a plan. The demigods arrested the wife of Hiranyakashipu with the idea that when she gives birth, we will kill the child. We won't let the child grow. But Narada Muni came there and told them, you don't need to do that, because this child is a special personality. He's going to be a pure devotee. He's not going to give any trouble. He's a great devotee. And you won't be able to harm him, because he's protected by the Lord himself. So Narada Muni took the wife of Hiranyakashipu away to his ashram. And the demigods were relieved that we're happy to know that there's not going to be another demon like this Hiranyakashipu. So the wife went to the ashram of Narada Muni, and in the ashram, Narada Muni would read the scriptures and he would be preaching and talking about the Lord. And Pralad's in the womb, he's hearing. So the child in the womb can hear. They have senses. Very important period in the life of a child, the months in the womb of the mother. If the mother sits and watches television and gives birth to a child, you cannot expect a child with very divine qualities. But if the mother is a faithful devotee, then she can give birth to a very nice devotee child. So, very important. Srila Prabhupada, by preaching, explaining the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, he's explaining to all of us how we can have saintly children. We need children who will become nice devotees, who will grow up to be devotees. They are the future of the world. If the young children today grow up to be nice devotees, then it will be very beneficial for human society. If there's even one child who is a great devotee, then it can change the whole situation of the world. Just like Srila Prabhupada was one person, but he did so much. Srila Prabhupada used to say, one moon is better than millions of stars. I may have millions of stars, but one moon can light up the whole sky. So if we have many moons, then it will be even better. Right? So we want all of these nice young children that they will grow up to be very saintly, pure devotees. And they can also then distribute Krishna consciousness, just like Prahlad distributed Krishna consciousness everywhere, wherever he was. Prahlad Maharaj is a devotee. He wants to... what are the qualities of the devotee? They are described in Srimad Bhagavatam. We hear Lord Kapila telling his mother, Devahuti, right? You want a son like Kapila, Lord Kapila, incarnation of God. Right? You're going to have a child who's an incarnation of God. That's the best. So Lord Kapila told his mother the quality that she should become attached to a sadhu. The mother was feeling distressed. Lord Kapila's father, Kardama, had taken sannyas, right? He'd gone away from home. Wife was left alone. And the wife was feeling this, what should she do? So Lord Kapila told his mother, you have to become attached to a sadhu. And Lord Kapila tells his mother, what should be the qualities of the sadhu? Titikshava, karunika, suridam sarvadehinam, ajata shatrava shantu, sadhava sadhubhushana. Sadhubhushana, the ornaments of the sadhu. Just like, ladies have ornaments, they wear ornaments. In the same way, the sadhu, the saintly person, has also ornaments which he is decorated with. Qualities: tolerant and merciful, friendly to everyone. He has no enemy. He knows the scriptures and he follows the scriptures like this, the ornaments of the sadhu. So you have to find out these kind of people and associate with them and become attached to them. We have to be attached. So attachment for the material is the cause of the greatest bondage. But the same attachment, when it's applied to the spiritual, it can lead to liberation, the greatest benefit. We want to get that kind of benefit. Okay, we will stop here. We'll ask if there's any questions. Some question or comment?
Maharaj, it was mentioned about Jai Vijay that if they take birth as demon, they will go back to Vaikuntha quickly if they would have taken birth as sadhus. So how that is, can you please explain?
Yes. They were given this benediction that if you go as the demons, you'll come back quick. Because, you see, although they were coming to the material world and they were taking birth again, they were not losing their God consciousness, even in the body of demons, that they were always conscious of the Lord, because, they wanted to fight Him. They came with that mood. Actually, it's explained that the Lord Himself wanted to fight. And so His sending Jai and Vijay into the material world as demons was to give pleasure to the Lord, that they would be His enemies and they would give Him a good fight. Because if they come as devotees, you'll be all respectful and prayerful, and you won't be able to fight very well. You won't fight the Lord. But if you come as a non-devotee, then you'll be angry at Him. So by taking birth as demons, they were always angry about the Lord. And in that angry mood, they could have a very nice battle with the Lord. And this was for His pleasure. You see? So the devotee's duty is to give pleasure to the Lord. And sometimes, in this particular special case, very special case, Jai and Vijay, by coming as demons, they gave great pleasure to the Lord by fighting Him, giving Him a good battle. The Lord could enjoy dealing with them. So this is why they came back quicker. That they were not forgetful of the Lord either. Just as Prahlad was remembering, they were also remembering Him. And they were remembering the Lord in an angry mood. But that angry mood was the cause of pleasure to the Lord Himself, ultimately. So many purposes were served by the one thing. Just like we see Kurma, Lord Kurma, he wasn't just carrying the hill, but he had an itching sensation on his back, right? So by having Mandara mountain on his back and by having the hill rotated on his back, he was able to relieve the itching. So sometimes, Krishna likes also to fight. He enjoys a nice fight. So, just like kings, sometimes he'll keep people in their court to give them a fight, to do battle with them. So Krishna had to send his devotees as demons so that they could give him a good fight. Ordinary demons couldn't give him much of a fight. So he sent giant Vijay there to become very special, powerful demons who could give him a real great battle.
Krishna Maharaj. Normally we all know that these demoniac people, they don't have any knowledge of scriptures, or they don't have any spiritual knowledge and things like that. But in case of Hiranyakashipu, when he was talking to his mother Diti, he was explaining about the body and soul and everything. So he had the knowledge, but he didn't probably apply it in a way. So what is the reason for that?
Well, he had knowledge of the soul, body and the soul, but he didn't have the proper mood of devotion to the Supreme Lord. Right? We often see people like that. Just like we said, those that are thousands among men, hardly one knows me in truth. So many people know that the impersonal aspect of the Supreme, like the Brahman, but they don't understand the Supreme Lord. And so in the same way, Hiranyakashipu, and in his coming as a demon, he understood the nature of death and the soul and the body, like that. It was known to him. He knew this, but he didn't take it any further, that there's a Supreme Lord over everything. He even understood there's a Lord, but he wanted himself to remove the Lord. He wants to take the Lord away, and he wants to take that position himself. So the demons know there's a Lord, but they just don't want to respect his authority. It's like that. They don't want to admit that to accept an authority. They're rebellious. And this is the real thing, that they can understand he's the Supreme, he's the Lord, but why should we submit? Why should we surrender to him? I'm not going to surrender to him. This is the rebellious mood. This is the demonic nature. This is what makes the demon. The difference between the devotee and the demon. The devotee will surrender to the Lord, but the demons, they won't surrender. They won't accept the authority. They will challenge the authority. So this is their mentality. Why like that? This is, two natures, right? If you're not devotee, you're a demon. They don't want to surrender. They want to control. They want to have it. They want to be the master. Why Krishna should be the master? I want to be the master. This is the demon mentality. How to change it? Well, you need special mercy. Jagai and Madhai, they got the mercy. They could be changed. Srila Prabhupada changed the minds of many demons by giving Krishna consciousness. How do we convert the demon into devotees? Well, we try to give them mercy. Prasadam is very powerful. The holy name can also change the heart. Sometimes getting people to do service is also very purifying. If we can engage people in the service of Krishna. Generally, we preach to the innocent people. People who, there are four kinds of people. We say, one who's a preacher on the intermediate level. We offer worship to the Supreme Lord. We associate with devotees. We give mercy to innocent, and we avoid the atheistic or the blasphemer. People who are blasphemers, we will avoid them. We don't want to hear a blasphemy. And we don't want to give them the opportunity to commit more blasphemy. So therefore we just stay away from these kind of people. Atheistic people may be atheistic, but if they're willing to hear and to discuss reasonably, we can talk to them. But if they're openly offensive and blasphemous, then we don't want to waste time with that kind of people, because it doesn't do them any good, and it doesn't do us any good to have to hear their blasphemy. So we avoid them. But we're looking for the innocent class of people who are submissive, who are willing to hear. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says this knowledge should not be given to the envious people. But we have an open program often in our centers, temples. Anybody can come. Anybody can come. They may not accept, but so long as they're quiet and they don't disturb, they're allowed to come and hear. And if they have a question at the end, they can raise their question. We can always try to answer their inquiry. But we do make have some discrimination. Who to preach to. Krishna is there in everyone's heart. He's in the demon's heart also, but he's just more covered over. Right? You have to remove more of the covering. Maybe it takes more mercy or special mercy. How to get the mercy? Well, take all of your money and just surrender it to Krishna. You get the mercy.